Well, where do I begin? My name is Glenn Clark, and I can't sleep. I'm so tired, and I seem to be dressed like an old 1900s woman or 1890s woman. This is my blanket. This is my hat, because I don't usually sleep in this hat. Everyone's gonna think this is how I go to bed normally. But this is literally, I'll post this later, but this is the following night from the last one of these I filmed when I couldn't sleep. So it's still cold, and my power's back on for the moment. The last time they turned it back on, it was for a literal split second, and you couldn't even count to one. The lights didn't even finish coming on before they went back off. And then I had no power for 10 hours. So, I mean, it's like 1:53 in the morning on February 17th, I guess that makes it. Yeah, so the house is still warming up, so this hat, I still have hair. I'm not bald. It's just all tucked up and warm and keeping my head warm because it's been crazy freezing temperatures. And Texas kept shutting its power off. So I rant about that in the last video of this series. I'm going to make this a series because I do this every night. And so I might as well. I mean, I'm trying to do 4 main kind of segments on this channel this year, and this will be the 4th one. And then I'm going to change that up every year. Drop one, make myself do a new thing every year. You know, tweak the ones I keep doing, maybe change the frequency to more or less often. I don't know. But yeah, this will be one of them. Where when I can't sleep and I wander the house talking to myself out loud, I'll talk to y'all instead. And yeah, I mean, I do this every night, but I won't film this every night. I'll space them out and let life happen a little. I'll put one of these up maybe once a month-ish. So, I mean, unless people... No, I'm just gonna do this, man. This is the kind of video to watch when you're either really high or just really ready to wind down and go to sleep, or both. You should watch this video if you want to fall asleep. That's entertainment. So, anyway, I'm exhausted because didn't really sleep while the whole power on and off thing was going on. I have to, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work out. My routine's been off. I worked out today finally in long johns and this hat. But my schedule's been thrown off big time. So hopefully the power is actually going to stay on this time. This is the longest it's been on since they started the rolling blackouts. So I'm I'm optimistic. I'm letting myself get my hopes up that they're not going to shut it off again. 'Cause yeah, man, it sucked. So I can't. I get the house really warm while the power's on, so that it won't be an instant freeze when they cut it off. So then it's a little too hot to sleep until it cools down a little, but then it goes from just right to way too cold, and then I can't sleep because it's too cold. And I don't know if and then the power comes on and I'm falling asleep. I have to get up because I don't know how much time I have to get things done. So I have to be up while the power's on, and I think I've trained myself for that. So that now that the power even's been on for hours, I can't let myself fall asleep because I'm missing the time with the power on. And I don't want to wake up with the power off. So, I don't know. That's probably why I can't sleep tonight. I just psychologically can't let myself, but I will soon enough, no doubt. Anyway, I've got a bowl of nuts on the table. You know, I hate cracking nuts, and you see my nuts? Like, these are so messy, but I found this bowl in my mother's things in the kitchen when I was cleaning it out. And I think I remember it from when I was a little kid. And I was just like, why has this been hidden away in the cabinet, at the back of the cabinet for all these years, when we could have it full of nuts and sitting on the coffee table? A little nutcracker. So, decoratively, I love it. But it's so much easier to buy a bag of canned mixed nuts if I want to eat some nuts. Like, I'm just hearing a sound bite in my head reverberating over and over. I want to eat some nuts. That's funny. Because I'm 12. I'm 8. Who am I kidding? I'm always 8 years old when I go to the movies. I love everything. All my generation gripes about, like, Indiana Jones 4. I freaking loved it. Freaking ants. That movie was great. But yeah, I can't watch, like, the stuff I watched when I was 8, though, as an adult in the same way. Like, I can watch it. I will never be tired of the Smurfs or He-Man, but oh my gosh, I wanted to be a Smurf when I was a little kid. I loved Smurfs. And, like, I don't know how to say this, because I don't mean any of this in a transphobic way. Like, I'm not mocking the character for being transphobic, is I guess what I'm trying to, or not transphobic, transgender. I'm not mocking the character for being transgender. I'm simply pointing out the fact that I wasn't aware of it as a child. I had no idea Smurfette had a penis. Now I think it's kind of cool. Like, okay, so hear me out, because this is a grown-up adult 8-year-old with grown-up adult experiences watching this show. And so, like, my 8-year-old and my adult selves are wrestling with each other watching this show. Like, you know, my adult's trying to, like, map the continuity of the Smurfs. I got the DVD years back of season 1 and watched it. And I realized my adult mind is being really analytical watching these little blue people who live in mushrooms try to, like, get away from this wizard with issues. But right, Smurfs were rad. I kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, okay, so that's my 8-year-old self is just wanting to lose himself in that lovely reality, but my adult self is analyzing it, and I'm just, you know, it's a premise that's perfectly acceptable and not to be questioned when you're an 8-year-old. I'm almost wearing a reverse Smurf hat tonight. It's so warm. The Smurfs had warm heads, I bet. But I don't think they had hair for the most part. Which is probably why they all wore hats. To keep their little blue heads warm. But yeah, so as an adult, I'm just watching it and I'm like, wait, okay, so it was summer, then wait, now it's fall, now it's summer again, now it's fall, it's spring. How many years have passed? Now, how old are they supposed to be? How long? Like, that's, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. And, you know, I would never have even contemplated that when I was actually 8. Not seriously, anyway. It wouldn't have mattered to me when I'm trying to get myself invested in the show. Like, I had full acceptance of the continuity errors in He-Man when I was a little kid. But as an adult, I watch that show and I'm like, okay, maybe it's not a continuity error if this episode takes place before that episode. And, you know, I'm trying to fix the timeline to make it make sense in my head as I'm watching it, and it's really kind of exhausting when my 8-year-old self would just be lost in it and not realize He-Man was gay. Like, okay, so back to Smurfette. Smurfette was a transgender Smurf. And here's how I know that, because my analytical adult mind was watching, like, the first or second episode in the Smurfs where the evil wizard Gargamel makes this golem kind of a Smurf in female form. You know, whatever that actually means to a Smurf. They reproduce by moonlight. Like, a baby Smurf appears once in the light of a blue moon. I mean, I accepted that as a child as perfectly sound. But, right, as an adult, I'm like, no, that's a nice story, but these, I don't get, like, they identify as male, though. That's the thing. So, okay, Gargamel sends his fake Smurfette, is her name, into the Smurf village. Now, notice Smurfette literally just means girl Smurf. And they accept that as her name because clearly, like all of them, she has a singular characteristic that defines her, but for her it's her gender, which re-emphasizes the fact that there are no female Smurfs in nature. And so here's the thing. At the end of this episode, Smurfette, she's been a spy, like reporting back to the evil wizard with issues, who either wants to eat the Smurfs or turn them into gold, depending on which side of the bet. I think Gargamel was bipolar. Somewhat. I don't know. Or he just had ADD. Like, he was just like me. He had no idea. Like, he wanted to do it all. He wanted to turn them into gold and eat them too. He couldn't make up his mind. Anyway, I digress most smurfily. But what I was trying to say is that... So Smurfette had remorse for being a spy after she got to know the Smurfs. Like, it feels like this blanket's fallen off of my shoulders, but here it is. So she felt remorse, and she got found out and all that, and she was all, oh, boo-hoo-hoo, Papa Smurf, I wish I was a real Smurf. And Papa Smurf is all, well, I'm magic, so hocus smurfus, or whatever he said. Now you're a real Smurf. So, if the Smurfs, I mean, who mirror human form in every way that we have been given visual access to as viewers, so it stands to reason that as they identify as male, as they seem to, develop as males, like they can grow facial hair and have their voices change or drop, like from Baby Smurf, who's a male, to Papa Smurf, who's a male. There's that voice changing thing. And they have little kid Smurfs too. So their voices change like ours. So it stands to reason that even if they do not reproduce sexually, but only by the light of the blue moon, they would still have humanish male genitalia to at least urinate with. And maybe they have balls, I don't know. I don't know if they have balls. But maybe, because Hefty has some testosterone, so maybe they're just like, not reproductive organs necessarily, but just kind of like if Smurfs and humans branched off somewhere on the evolutionary tree after the development of the penis, which we did. So, I'm saying this like there are biological facts in reality about Smurfs and evolution. But no, see, that's how my adult brain watches the Smurfs. I can't just let it go. I have to dissect the science, the non-existent science of the Smurfs. And so, right, then their asexual reproduction could have evolved post-penis, so they still have them, but for some reason they stopped being, well, I guess they evolved into an asexual race somehow. So maybe the female body has more parts and more function when it comes to reproduction and nursing and such. Like, So it would stand to reason if their bodies no longer had anything to do with reproduction, the female form would disappear in favor of the male form, I guess, because one gender has to disappear in order for them to become asexual. So it makes sense for it to be that one. Because I would think it would be, well, actually maybe it doesn't make sense, because wouldn't it make more sense for a female body if the males all died out to reproduce spontaneously? Like, more of the parts are there. Or maybe they should be, maybe Smurfs are hermaphroditic. I don't know. But okay, so within the reality of the cartoon, what I'm saying is clearly the male form won out before they became asexual. But, right, so Papa Smurf grew Smurfette dong is what I'm saying. And isn't it great how they just didn't, like, Smurfette then continues to identify as a female. And they all just accept that. Like, they all want to marry her. They're all fighting over who gets to marry Smurfette in one episode. Like, gender isn't about... I mean, that was the message of Smurfette that I never saw as a child, is that gender isn't about genitalia. That's only one part of gender. Gender is so much more complex, and that's just an objective truth. Because, I mean, okay, if you're swimming out in the ocean and you're a man, and a shark bites you in half, like from the waist down, and somehow, medical miracle, you survive and they're able to keep you alive with, like, but you kind of look like R2-D2. Or that dude, Captain Pike from Star Trek. That was cool. I watched that when I was a little kid, and I was like, oh, it was so cool to just sit in a box and speak by beeping, which is the thing that Captain Pike has in common with R2-D2. But once again, I digress. So, yeah, the message of Smurfette is that gender is more than your genitalia. Right, I already said that. So, right, you're bitten in half by a shark. So you no longer have male genitalia. Are you still male? Would you still identify as he, or because you were bitten off at the waist, would you identify genuinely as they? I think if you identify as male now, like genuinely identify as male, and have a penis, if a shark bites it off, you still will identify as male. Because there's, people act like the only difference that defines a man and a woman, a male and a female, is their genitalia. All these ridiculous politicians. I mean, there are differences in brain structure. They're like in a male and a female brain. And there are differences in just everything. Just And that to me, like, so if you're transgender, a really oversimplified analogy that I think anyone could grasp, but of course I don't expect the people who don't grasp such things to grasp it, is that if you have a size 12 foot and size 10 shoes, why would you try to change your foot rather than changing your shoes? I mean, if you have a male brain in a female body, if you have a female brain in a male body, why would you try to change your brain rather than changing your casing? I mean, why would you, if you do have to keep wearing shoes that don't fit, why wouldn't you loosen the strings? Make it a little bit more comfortable for yourself. Why would you tell people that? Why wouldn't you just let people understand? I'm loosening these strings, I'm not a size 10, I'm a size 12. And they're like, but look at you, you're wearing size 10 shoes, therefore you're a size 10. And you're like, no, I absolutely know that I'm not. I am a size 12. I mean, yeah. It just makes so much sense to me. I don't understand why other cis people can't understand that. It's just not hard to understand that people are legitimately transgender. Just because you're not doesn't mean they're not. It's just, and that's why we couldn't know that Smurfette was transgender, other than the fact that, the creator probably never actually intended that. My analytical brain just filled in the spaces where they were left open for interpretation, and only one interpretation logically. But yeah, but had it been intentional, and I mean, perhaps it was. Who knows what was going on in Peo's mind when he created those characters, but had it been intentional, they couldn't have been overt about it in the cartoon. Like in the same era, there was a comic strip called Bloom County, which is on the internet still. I mean, the comic strip is still going. But they had a character, Bill the Cat, who came out of the closet, I think during one of the Clinton presidential campaigns. And all these newspapers all over the country canceled it. Were dropping it like it was Hitler's clone. Just because he dared to introduce a gay character, which is why He-Man, I mean, goodness. He-Man was gay. I mean, it's like He-Man and Vanity Smurf. They were gay in different ways. Like they represented various different sub-genres of gay. But He-Man. He-Man was like a pretty boy twink by day, or, well, it's not like he changed at night, but he was a leather daddy running around saving the world. It's just really hilarious if you think about it. And the sorceress was obviously a drag queen. I don't know. I mean, that's why they never tell you who Tila's father is. Because Tila was the sorceress's daughter. It's like Eric Cartman right there. See, here I go again. I'm overthinking. But, I mean, come on. He-Man is like a prime example, like symbolism of living in the closet. Because he has to play this role, which, ironically, the closeted role no, unless you really think about it, He-Man is the closeted role. Because He-Man is really Prince Adam. Effeminate, purple panties wearing Prince Adam is his true self. That's who he is, like, when he goes to sleep at night and when he wakes up in the morning, and he's happy and he's free and he doesn't have to save the world. But then when he turns into He-Man, he's this uber macho masculine guy. But that doesn't work either. It's like his secret identity is gay and his true self is also gay, but differently gay. It's like Prince Adam's a bottom and He-Man's a top, but they're the same guy. Really, they're verse. Like, what's with labels? Don't get me started. But, yeah, so... But, they couldn't, if that had been overt, they couldn't have actually put it on there. They couldn't have had He-Man be gay. It would have never gotten on television. Same with Vanity Smurf. I'd count C-3PO as gay if he wasn't a robot. He's asexual. Like, if you didn't know, robots are asexual, except apparently for Commander Data. Which, even as a child, like, I didn't see, like, people having sex in cartoons, but I sure did notice some robots having sex. Like, I noticed, and yeah, Star Trek isn't a cartoon, I will accept when it is, but it was something I watched as a kid. And Commander Data, in that one episode, did it with Tasha Yar, and I was like, what? Why? Now, why would you make a robot who could do that? Yeah, like, but you grow up and you find out, well, people do. They make robots who can do that. But anyway, yeah, but I sure noticed that as a kid. And then Optimus Prime. Now that was something, that was some kinky sex going on there on the Transformers. And that I even noticed as a child. I just didn't realize how filthy it was until I was an adult. It's like, alright, so yeah, Optimus Prime had sex. Like, right there in front of you as a child, Optimus Prime is plugging it in to another Autobot. See, okay, so here's the scene. It's on Cybertron. Optimus Prime's dad is like Optimus Prime and his girlfriend and his dad are in this room. I do not remember the circumstances. I've been meaning to rewatch that series. That was good stuff. But yeah, so I don't remember the circumstances, but Optimus Prime is lying on one raised table. His girlfriend, I think her name was Alita One, is lying on another raised table. You know, it's like they look like on the Dick Van Dyke Show or something where they sleep two beds next to each other. Bert and Ernie. Right, so there they are, lying there. And so then Optimus Prime's dad comes over and opens this panel on Optimus Prime. And he pulls out this like cord with a plug on it. And he opens a panel on Alita 1 and there's a socket. And he just plugs his son's cord into this chick's socket. And I'm like, what? What is going on there? Are Transformers doing it? Because they were forcing me to learn about sex around that time. I was not impressed. I thought, they made it all so clinical and so binary and so like grossly drawn. Like, ew. Right, so anyway, I knew what was going on. I knew that two robots were having sex on my TV. I just didn't know why. And now I think, as an adult, I know why. It's because the adults who wrote that crap thought it was hilarious. So, and they actually got it through the censors because it was not robots having sex. It was one appliance being plugged into another. They're robots. I mean, that's what the heartless executives think, but they're robots in disguise. You see, they are sentient beings and they have sex with their parents' help. Or someone. It's like, it takes a lot to be an Autobot's wingman, man. Like, if you go out to help your buddy Bumblebee pick up chicks, and you're Cliff Jumper, right? So Cliff Jumper and Bumblebee go out clubbing on Cybertron. And Bumblebee starts getting hot and heavy with a chick Autobot. And so he has to wink at Cliff Jumper. I mean, it's a three-way no matter what if you're an Autobot. Because you have to lie on separate tables. And you have to have your wingman come and get your plug out and put it over in the girl's socket. So like, Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper have to be like really good friends. I mean, do they practice that? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. And why do I just assume it's Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper? I guess because they looked so similar. Right. Again, no, I cannot watch cartoons that I watched as a kid as an adult because my mind just has to go there. I have to figure it all out. I have to figure out the world. The world when all the lights go out. Uh, I don't know. Yeah, but He-Man, there was, like, not only did he never have a girlfriend on the show, like, there were shows where he was, like, chasing girls around, but they were just literally playing tag. Um, there's this one She-Ra episode where He-Man's on it, and all of She-Ra's friends, all of these, like, hot Etherian chicks, are hitting on He-Man left and right, and he is like, no, whoa, oh, I can't, and his, like, nose wrinkles up, like, what is sex? Like, he's just like, what do they want from me? Ew! That's the look on his face. He's like, ew, why? And then, like, he finally leaves. No, but he starts hitting on this one chick, Sweet Bee, who to me always had looked like a drag queen. And I'm like, alright, I get that. He-Man's hitting on the one he knows has what he's looking for. But then it turns out he's just using her anyway to get the other girls off of his back. Because the next time He-Man and Sweet Bee cross paths, he acts like she's just, you know, a background extra. He doesn't care. He's not into her. And, like, he's not even actively trying to avoid her, like, oh, you know, did that. Don't want to do it again. She has a stinger, man. Sweet Bee. We take things like that literally in this world. So, okay. So, yeah, so finally, whenever they've saved the day and all that stuff that He-Man and She-Ra do on the daily, the girls start hitting on him again, so He-Man's like, you know what, sis, I'm gonna go away from this camp. In fact, I'm gonna go away from this planet. For real though, I'm gonna leave this entire universe right now. And bye. So, and that's what He-Man did. He left the universe to go, because they lived in different universes, but he literally went home to his universe of Eternia and was really glad he got away from all those gorgeous women. That's not the only gay thing He-Man did. Like, everything about He-Man was gay. His friends like Fisto and Ram-Man, Extendar. Oh my gosh. I loved He-Man. I still love He-Man. I still love the Smurfs. And the Transformers. I love all these shows. That's why I have watched them as adults. As an adult. Just one. I guess. I don't know. I mean, who's counting? But right. I can't watch kid shows as an adult. Well, I mean, yes, I can. I don't know. What else have I noticed? Just that G.I. Joe is completely weird. That show is just amazing. I can't even think of all the things that just made me laugh on that show. But it's also kind of cool. I got like Shipwreck. It's my favorite character on G.I. Joe. But right, I'm just talking. This is another thing I'll do. I will rant about my fandoms when I'm having a bout of insomnia. If I'm not ranting about the nature of reality, I'm ranting about my fandoms and trying to puzzle things out. I guess it's because, especially like as a writer, as a storyteller myself, like I have this brain where I have trained my mind to keep up with tight continuity details in my own work, and to kind of, it's like I have files in my brain. So I can pull up, oh, this character, blah 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 blah, and then there's the timeline going on in my brain. And there are diagrams, there are books just in my head of just continuity details. So I can't listen to a story or watch a story on a television show or a movie, or read it in a book without making those files in my head as I go. I have to make sense of it. There has to be, and I've almost figured it out. I think there is a viewable chronological order to the He-Man series that, I doubt was at all intentional, because it was more like they just weren't really paying attention. But there is a way to make it make sense. Man. And, I'm trying to calculate how many years are passing as I watch the Smurfs by the changing of the seasons, because those are details I pay attention to when I'm telling stories. So when I'm taking a story in, I do the same thing. I'm just kind of, it's all a puzzle to me, that every piece has to go somewhere and it has to fit. Because I think that's part of the art of storytelling. So, yeah, I logic it out. And it's fun. Like it's a different way to watch. It makes it remain interesting in another level from when I was a child and it was just a fantasy escapist reality. But now as an adult, it's a puzzle because I am who I am. So I make it a puzzle. Like, okay, I'm watching this cartoon. Now, how does this make sense? There's a way it makes sense, and I can make it make sense so that I can then lose myself in this reality. It's my novelist brain. But I don't know. It's fun. And I highly recommend it. I highly recommend revisiting your childhood favorites. Some things you'll find are just unwatchable. But then some things are like great on a level that was just above your head as a kid. Like how the Smurf community accepts transgender people as they present themselves. How He-Man is actually a role model for gay men, for gay children. It's, and Vanity Smurf, it's like we were there, just didn't see it as children. That visibility. Whoa. My cactus just passed out. That's weird. I'll be right back. I have to go help him up. Hey, buddy. Oh, no. Water you. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Something is wrong with that cactus. I think maybe I didn't get it in out of the cold fast enough. It's all bent over. And he feels squishy. There I go pronouncing him. I don't know how the cactus identifies. I don't know anything really about the gender of cacti. But I mean, I know that one reproduced asexually. Part of the big cactus broke off and put it in a pot. My mom put it in a pot and grew that little cactus out of it. So, whatever. Once in a blue moon, once in a green moon, a cactus is formed. I mean, and of course there's like the grandma Smurf. I never figured out where she came from. It's like I went to camp one week, I came back, there was a grandma Smurf. Nana Smurf. And then I think there was a movie, I haven't seen the latest movie, the latest couple of movies, which is weird because I love the Smurfs, but I think it had something to do with like the lost village of girl Smurfs. I don't know. So I don't know what's going on these days. I'm just telling you my childhood kind of stories that I've revisited. Right. But yeah, I mean there was there were all those characters who could have been like LGBTQ XYZ plus people, like what am I saying? Yeah, they could have represented, and been visibility so that kids can see themselves on screen and as they grow up not feel so alone and confused. Like if no one has ever told them there's such a thing as a gay, I don't know. But now, like, I feel like that's been remedied. Like the new She-Ra cartoon is very pansexual. It's great. And it's overt. Like it's it's not like wink wink nudge nudge She-Ra's a lesbian. It's right, it's undeniable. Like there's same gender romance all over the place on that show. Which is great. But yeah, back then. No, I mean, come on, Bugs Bunny was always, like, they gave him a beard in Space Jam, I know. But it's like, having Poe Dameron pretend he wants to kiss a girl in Star Wars Episode 9. It's just straight washing because they're scared, they're weak, they don't want to admit what we all know, Bugs Bunny is like the gayest character in cartoon history. Like, he's all over the place, kind of, with his sexuality, but he definitely loves the boys. Like, and he will go to great lengths to make out with them. He dressed up like a female Tasmanian devil to do, I mean, kinky stuff to the Tasmanian devil with like a bear trap. I mean, man. Like, and he straight up married Elmer Fudd at the end of one episode of one cartoon where they kept changing hats. Bugs Bunny was forever dressing in drag and kissing men. Like, lingering wet kisses. I mean, come on. The Tasmanian devil was definitely open mouth. So, you know Bugs Bunny looked for those roles. Because he got to express himself. What I'm saying, just... like, it's sad that people have to fight to be seen on screen. Like, for so long, like, even black people couldn't see themselves on screen. Not really. I mean, they could see racists on screen, like in the silent era. Racists in blackface. I mean, that's just like... and then it's kind of like with gay people and black people. Like, I've seen movies of a certain era, or, like, I would say from like as early as they would put actual black people on screen to maybe around the 1980s. There was always like a token black character who was like the punchline. Always the punchline. Always kind of the butt of the jokes. The Jar Jar Binks of whatever film or television series it was. I mean, there were exceptions, of course, but that seemed to be like any stuff I saw growing up that was from that era. I remember seeing it as that the black people were only represented as clowns. And then they did the same thing with gay people when they were finally allowed to be on television or in the movies. They were only seen as clowns. So, like, you're not really seeing yourself on screen. If all you're seeing is a clown, and it's not like we don't have black clowns and gay clowns. It's fine to be a clown, but it's just that's one type of person, and that's the only characteristic you see. And so it's not really representative of reality at all. So I think it's great that that's changed. And you would never, like, in the era when gay characters were clowns, yeah, you couldn't have gay characters on cartoons. Like, you couldn't... You could have a character with stereotypically gay traits, like Vanity Smurf. But you couldn't let Vanity Smurf have a boyfriend. Even though, come on, what were they doing before Smurfette anyway? And I still maintain they're all biologically, like, they all, like, their outer forms are the same because there isn't gender with Smurfs. But there isn't biological gender with Smurfs, there's only gender identity. So they're all the same. I just assume they all have penises because of the way their bodies seem to have developed. Otherwise, we never see them with their pants off that I'm aware of. And Smurfette's skirt never flies up. So, I guess we'd have more answers about the anatomy of Smurfs if it were anime. I guess. Oh well. What time is it? Dango. 2:53. Yeah, anyway. I'm sure there's a point to all that. Like, it's just, yeah, so people having to fight for visibility on screen in the world, like on billboards. It's ridiculous. And now, transgender people. Like, I remember when it started being okay to have gay people on TV and to have gay out celebrities. It was always a scandal, but it could be done. And, the complaint was, everybody's gay now. Everybody just wants to be gay because it's trendy, it's popular. And of course, the reality is, no, it's just that gay people are now allowed to openly express themselves in this society, so you're hearing about them more. There aren't more of them. It's not just because it's trendy. And now the same thing's going on with transgender people, where, the complainers, the people who see others in people, they're like, no, everybody wants to be transgender. There's influence. You're just being influenced because it's so popular when you're transgender. When again, it's the same thing. Transgender people have always been there. You just wouldn't let them talk. There aren't more of them. We're just allowing them to talk openly and to introduce themselves honestly. But the numbers have always been there. We've always had gay people, transgender people, pansexual people, asexual people. We've had, the human race is a very pansexual species. Like, you have different spots on the continuum, like the Kinsey zeros to the Kinsey sixes and beyond that. That's like one tiny little fraction of human sexuality. So, man, I'm tired. I don't know what I was saying. Something about human sexuality. Oh yeah. Just that, yes, you can have a heterosexual human, or a primarily heterosexual human, or, a pansexual, or anything. Gay, lesbian, transgender, all of the above. Like, furries. people into S&M, like people into all kinds of things, like, but it's different from individual to individual, and some people match up. Um, but if you're an alien looking down at this and you're writing up a report on the human animal that lives on the planet Earth, you would identify that animal as pansexual just because you look at the whole of its sexual behavior. Like, different ones behave different ways, but that's why as a species we're pansexual. As individuals we can be different things. As individuals some of us are pansexual, but yeah, on the whole, I would call the human race a pansexual species. So why do we try to hide that? Like, why do certain people label that as, like, wicked and wrong to not just be heterosexual? It just seems like a weird thing to be afraid of. Like, other people's sexual and gender identities. I don't understand. Like, I don't have a problem with anything. Like, I love the diversity of the human race. I think that's what makes us so interesting. That's one of the many things that makes us so interesting. Just all the diversity. So why would you be afraid of that? When I meet someone who's different than me, I want to know everything about them. Like, I want to take in what's different and what's the same. Like, I guess that transgender people have been on my mind a lot because of that curiosity. Like, I realized at one point, I don't have any transgender friends that I'm aware of. I mean, I have a friend who has a transgender husband, but they haven't been around. I don't really know her husband. So I can't say I have a transgender friend. And I thought that was strange. And that got me thinking, you know, I would love to have a transgender friend so that I can learn about that experience. I want to know their story. I want to know what life is like for them. I mean, that's how I feel about all of my friends. I want to hear everything. I want to hear everything they have to say. I want to know everything that they want to tell me. Because their differences from me fascinate me. And their similarities to me comfort me. So it wouldn't be any different with a transgender friend. It's just that then I would be learning from that friend about the transgender experience. And so I started just always following following all these transgender people on Twitter. And it's interesting, it's eye-opening about things that you don't think of as transphobic until a transgender person points out how and why whatever little everyday thing it is, just how that's transphobic, or just things that they go through that I would never even consider. I follow like a couple of transgender YouTubers. Just because one, I'm so tired. I watch his videos all the time. Just because they're great, they're funny. And at first, because it was informative, like, because I wanted to know, like, I didn't understand. Like, I got how the surgery works for a man to become a woman. But I really wanted to understand how a woman becomes a man. Like, physically, like, how that surgery is done and, like, like, how things work. Just curious. And, this guy, man, what's his name? I watch his videos all the time. Jammy Dodger, that's who. I saw, a video about that. He was talking about having gotten top surgery and bottom surgery, and I was fascinated. I wanted to hear that story. So I've been learning a lot about transgender people, I guess, as well as you can without actually knowing any that you're aware of. And that's the thing. I could know trans people who just haven't told me. And why should they have to? Like, I don't... It's just that I would love to hear whatever they want to share about that. That's me. I like to just listen. I like to just... Any of my friends, I like the conversation just to go where it will. And just listen. Just hear what they have to say. I think it's really cool. That's my favorite part of the conversation. Like, yes, I'm loquacious, as you may have gleaned from watching this video. Like, I can talk, but I love to listen. That's where you get the benefit of another person's experience. Like, everyone's having an experience that you will never have. Everyone has a story to tell that you can learn from. Because they've lived through lessons you haven't. And you have lived through lessons they haven't. We are all just walking, talking stories. We should make it a habit. We should always want to learn each other's stories. That's what people are. It's like dogs sniff each other's butts to learn each other's stories. We talk and we listen. So I feel bad for the people who just like talk and don't listen. Like, I know some people like that. I have one friend, hasn't let me finish a story in years and doesn't know it. Like, he would never know because he's never listening to me. And I just think it's funny because, like, I'll be saying something, like he'll ask me something and I'll answer, but mid-sentence of my answer he says something else, changes the subject, and never realizes that he hadn't heard the full answer to his question, or never realizes that I hadn't finished a story because he wasn't listening. And I'm just like, that's interesting. So I never like say anything. I just like take it in and wonder if this will be the time that he finally realizes he never lets me finish a story. But it's like never anything worth fighting about, because I don't want to fight to try to get somebody who doesn't listen to listen. I guess he enjoys my company as much as I enjoy his. He just doesn't know a good 2/3 of the things I tell him. And I have not finished a story in years. But yeah, I mean, I just feel bad because like there's stuff. I mean, my story is a gift to give to people. And theirs is a gift to receive. And I feel bad for anyone who won't accept my gift. Because, I don't know, it's something that I love. And so I think you'd love it too. That's just kind of like childlike brain. That's my 8-year-old. It's like little kids, that's how they give gifts. It's like, I love this. I think you'll love this too. And dogs, like puppies will do that. Like they'll come bring you something they love if you're in distress. It's just, it's cool. Like I wish we all could look at each other like that, just as these gifts to share with each other. These gifts of a living story. But stories shape us. Because we ourselves are stories. And I mean, that's why I like that I have been able to see certain stories through different eyes. I love that I've been able to see the Smurfs and He-Man and Bugs Bunny and the Transformers through a child's innocent, non-judgmental, non-giving a flip eyes. And that I have gotten to see those same stories as an analytical adult who fancies himself a master storyteller who can turn these innocent childhood tales into complex puzzles in his mind. I love that. Because it keeps the stories new. As we grow, our understanding of the stories around us changes. It grows with us. So I think we should always revisit our childhood favorites. Because you never know, you never know what new gifts they'll have to share. Anyway, I think I'm going to try to go to sleep again. It is now 3:10. I don't know. I'm kind of revved up, but I'm also I want to lie down. And I think the electricity is probably going to stay on. Because it's been going off at 2 o'clock in the morning pretty regularly. Like, if it's on at 2 o'clock in the morning, it will go off. So, it's now, 3:10 in the morning. So, I have to get up in less than 2 hours. I can't sleep. But thank you so much for sitting up with me and hopefully listening to me. If you like this, please like it on the little thumb button down below. Subscribe if you like. And leave a comment if you have any prompts you want to throw at me for if I'm up talking to myself some night. Anything you think you'd like to hear my wisdom and or foolishness on. Just let me know. Perhaps I will ramble on about it. But thanks for staying up with me a while. And good night.